The loudest man in the room is the weakest. Frank Lucas. Now let that sink in. Because while the world shouts for attention, flexes success, and begs for applause, there's a different breed of man who walks through the chaos like he owns the silence. No fanfare, no drama, no need to explain. He's not trying to impress you. He's trying to master himself. And guess what? That's exactly why you can't look away. Here's a wild fact. Studies show people are more psychologically drawn to individuals who are hard to read than those who are openly charismatic. Mystery beats charm every single time. Enter the Sigma male, the most quietly dangerous archetype out there. He doesn't run with the pack because frankly he's too busy running his own program. And while everyone's out here rehearsing their highlight reels, he's perfecting a lifestyle that nobody saw coming, but everybody wants to copy. This isn't some fairy tale about a misunderstood genius hiding in a cave. This is real. This is raw. This is why the Sigma male's lifestyle doesn't just impress people, it inspires them, even if they'd never admit it. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear might not stroke your ego, but it will slap your perspective straight, with a little smirk, of course. Number one, they live like they don't owe explanations, and mean it. They live like they don't owe explanations, and mean it. That alone is enough to throw people off. Most of us are conditioned to explain ourselves constantly. Why we didn't reply to that text, why we left a party early, why we chose one job over another. We're taught to keep people comfortable by over-explaining ourselves into little pieces. But Sigma males, they don't do any of that. Not because they're rude or above it all, but because they simply refuse to justify how they move through the world. You won't see them trying to make their silence easier to digest. If they're quiet, they're just quiet. If they say no, there's no essay attached. They don't cushion their truth with a bunch of fluff. And the wild part? They're not trying to be edgy, they just don't see the need to explain themselves to people who aren't invested in their growth, their mission, or their peace. Their logic is brutally simple. If you trust them, you don't need an explanation. If you don't, then no explanation will ever be enough. That kind of self-possession messes with people. We're so used to behavior that seeks approval, validation, or at least some emotional permission. But when a Sigma walks away, changes paths, cuts off a conversation, or even distances himself from an entire group, he does it quietly. No speech, no closure, just motion. And for a society addicted to clarity and constant communication, that can feel threatening, but it's also liberating. There's something magnetic about someone who moves like they belong to no one but themselves, who doesn't need a consensus to make a decision, who can say, I'm done here, and actually be done. No drama, no announcement, no social campaign to prove a point, just a simple, solid exit. It teaches people something radical. You don't need to defend your peace. You don't have to make others comfortable with your growth. You don't have to soften your truth to make it easier to swallow. Watching a Sigma male live like that doesn't just inspire. It challenges you to reevaluate how much of your life is spent explaining moves you were never supposed to apologize for in the first place. Number two, they don't need to be feared, but they are. There's a quiet chill that follows Sigma males, not because they raise their voice or puff out their chest, but because no one can ever quite tell what's going on behind those eyes. They don't operate on loud dominance or obvious power plays. They just sit back, observe and move when it actually matters. And that's exactly what makes people uneasy. You're not afraid they'll do something reckless. You're afraid that if they did, it would be precise, intentional, and probably impossible to recover from. This isn't about bravado or flexing strength. Sigma males don't walk around trying to prove they're tough. In fact, they rarely try to prove anything. But that unreadable energy, that unshakable calm, it makes people second-guess themselves. Because when you can't predict someone, your mind fills in the blanks, and it usually overestimates. That's how mystery becomes fear. It's not what you see, it's what you can't see that haunts you. People are used to decoding behavior. We're trained to read body language, tone, facial expressions, but Sigma males, they're not in the business of being readable. They don't drop hints. They don't wear their emotions on their sleeves. They sit with a straight face while their mind is 10 moves ahead. And you don't know if they're planning dinner or dismantling your entire argument in silence. That kind of composure is rare. And people fear what they can't figure out. A loud man might throw a punch, sure, but a silent one? You don't know if he's about to walk away or drop a truth bomb that'll ruin your week. There's something dangerously elegant about a person who never uses threats, but still makes you tread carefully. What's wild is they don't want to be feared. That's not the goal. They just want peace, space, and purpose. But the side effect of being so self-contained is that people project power onto them. It's a psychological echo chamber. If someone doesn't speak often, they must be holding something potent inside. And they are. It's just not what you expect. It's clarity, control, calculation. And in a world addicted to emotional chaos, that level of inner stillness feels like staring down a storm you can't see, but know is there. Number 3, they don't want to be leaders, which is why they end up leading anyway. Sigma males don't walk into a room looking to take charge. They're not scanning the crowd thinking, how do I become the alpha here? Honestly, they'd rather be left alone to do their thing in peace. But ironically, that's exactly why people start looking to them for direction. In a world filled with loud leaders obsessed with control, the Sigma's quiet autonomy stands out like a lit match in the dark. They don't try to inspire, they just live in a way that does. Their discipline is unshakable, their decision-making is brutal in its clarity, and they have this eerie ability to stay grounded no matter how messy things get. While others get pulled into drama, distractions, or desperate attempts to be seen, Sigma males are laser-focused on what actually matters. That kind of presence pulls people in, not with noise, but with weight. You can't fake that. People start trusting a Sigma male's judgment without even realizing it. They begin asking for his opinion, waiting for his reaction, mirroring his calm when things go south. Not because he demands it, but because when the room starts to unravel, he's the only one who looks like he's not bluffing. He doesn't try to control anyone. He just controls himself. And that kind of self-possession is rare enough to feel like leadership, even if he never wanted the title. That's the twist. Sigma males don't want to be responsible for anyone. They're not chasing followers, building empires, or trying to be some philosophical guru. They just operate with such internal strength that others naturally orbit around them. It's not leadership, it's gravity. Quiet, consistent, undeniable pull. And the most unsettling part, they're not even trying. They're not networking, not politicking, not playing the long game for influence. They're just following their inner compass. They'll lead if they must, but they won't chase that role. And that refusal to seek power, ironically, makes people trust them more than those who do. Because deep down, everyone knows, the person who doesn't want control is the only one who won't abuse it. So while others scramble to be seen as the boss, the Sigma male becomes the blueprint people start copying, without him ever asking to be. Number 4, they don't idolize success, they deconstruct it. Sigma males don't sit around drooling over flashy success stories. They're not the type to idolize billionaires, motivational gurus, or anyone parading their wins for applause. In fact, if you show off too much, they'll probably start picking apart your methods before you finish your victory speech. Not out of jealousy, but because that's how their brain works. They don't romanticize success. They reverse engineer it like a machine. While most people get hypnotized by the glow-up, the cars, the lifestyle, Sigmas are squinting at the blueprint underneath. They're looking for the leverage points. What decisions were made? What was unnecessary? Where's the fluff? What failed but was hidden? Their admiration isn't emotional, it's technical. They don't see winners as untouchable gods. They see them as case studies with strengths, flaws, and patterns that can be decoded and improved. What makes this even more interesting is that Sigmas rarely copy anything outright. They might study 10 different people, pick one useful trait from each, throw out 90% of the noise, and build something that looks nothing like what they studied, but works twice as well. That's their flex. They're remix artists of ambition, quietly crafting their own formula while everyone else is still quoting someone else's rules. You won't catch them reciting feel-good mantras or obsessing over a 5-step plan they found in a bestseller. They're allergic to cookie-cutter formulas. They don't want to be like the winners. They want to outthink them. They want to build a lane so specific to their mind, their energy, and their mission that no one can even trace where it came from. It's not about being rebellious or edgy, it's about efficiency. Sigma males don't just want success, they want clean, strategic, silent success. No fluff, no clout chasing, no public obsession, and most importantly, no borrowed identity. They know success isn't about how big it looks, it's about how deeply it works. And if that means ditching 95% of what the world worships to find the 5% that actually moves the needle, that's exactly what they'll do, quietly, calculatedly, unapologetically. Number 5, they don't flirt with chaos. They use it as a strategy. When the world starts cracking, most people panic. They scramble, overthink, cling to certainty like it's a life raft. But Sigma males, they step into the chaos like it's a room they've been in before. No flinching, no theatrics, just measured moves like they already mapped out the escape route 3 disasters ago. The truth is they don't just survive chaos. They use it. Chaos is where most people lose their rhythm. Sigma males find theirs in it. They understand something most miss. Unpredictable times expose weaknesses, but they also create rare openings. While others are distracted by the noise, Sigmas stay alert to what's actually shifting beneath it all. They don't try to fight the storm, they ride it, adjust to it, and quietly capitalize on what it leaves behind. Their brain doesn't freeze under pressure, it sharpens. Their calm becomes even more unnerving when everything else is falling apart. You won't catch a Sigma spiraling because the rules changed. They don't worship the rules anyway. They operate on adaptability, that's their real edge. They expect change, they prepare for it without making a scene. And when the game resets, they're already 3 moves into a new strategy before most people even notice the board flipped. It's not recklessness, it's control in disguise. Sigmas don't seek chaos for fun. They're not out here trying to be edgy or unstable, but they're smart enough to know that chaos always reveals where the real power is. It shakes people out of their masks. It forces hidden truths to the surface, and when that happens, a Sigma sees things more clearly than ever, not just about others, but about himself. His limits, his instincts, his strengths that only show up when the pressure hits. That's why people find them unsettling during a crisis. Everyone else is losing grip, and they're moving with eerie precision. Not because they're unbothered, but because they planned for the unpredictability. They made peace with it long before it showed up. They don't flirt with chaos. They study it, weaponize it, and walk away with lessons most people were too shaken to even notice. And they do it with a kind of silence that doesn't beg for applause. It just leaves people wondering, how the hell did he see this coming? Number 6, they're immune to the disease of oversharing. In a world where people treat oversharing like a competitive sport, Sigma males remain a locked vault. Not cold, not distant, just deeply selective about what they reveal and to whom. While everyone else is busy spilling their trauma on timelines, live streaming their meltdowns, or writing essays about their latest identity crisis, Sigmas are quietly sipping their coffee, watching the circus, and keeping their real lives off the stage. They're not allergic to vulnerability. They just refuse to turn it into content. Their privacy isn't a defense mechanism, it's a decision, a strategy, an understanding that not everyone deserves access to their inner world. While others seek connection through confession, Sigmas build it through presence. They don't need to dump their entire backstory to earn your trust. They just show up consistently, calmly, and authentically, and let that speak for itself. What makes it even more powerful is that people notice, they feel the difference. There's this silent tension when you talk to a Sigma. You realize you're not being given the usual performance. No curated backstory, no exaggerated wounds, no fishing for validation, just a calm, self-contained energy that says, I know who I am and I don't need to explain it to you. That creates mystery, and mystery is magnetic. In a culture obsessed with transparency, being unreadable is the ultimate power move. People start wondering what you're not saying, what you've been through, how you got so composed. And because Sigmas don't broadcast their lives, they become the rare ones people want to ask about, not just scroll past. Their silence doesn't repel, it intrigues. It makes people lean in instead of tune out. And the best part, they're not doing it to be interesting. They're just uninterested in turning their lives into open access content. They know that privacy isn't about secrecy, it's about ownership. And in a time when everyone's addicted to being seen, Sigmas remind the world what it looks like to belong to yourself first. Number 7, they don't advertise their struggles, so people mistake them for superhuman. Sigma males move through pain like they've made peace with it. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because they don't see pain as something that needs a public stage. They don't post cryptic quotes, seek pity in their group chats, or drop emotional breadcrumbs hoping someone will pick them up. When life hits them hard, and it does, they don't broadcast it. They internalize, analyze, rebuild, and keep walking quietly, privately, without asking the world to clap for their endurance. It's not about pride, it's about self-respect. They believe some struggles are sacred, not in a spiritual sense, but in a personal one. There's a kind of dignity in fighting battles that no one knows about, especially in a culture that glorifies vulnerability only when it's performative. Sigma males don't need applause for surviving. They don't measure strength by how loudly they cry for help, but by how deeply they can suffer without letting it distort who they are. And ironically, that silence makes people think they're superhuman, untouchable, emotionless even. But that's the paradox. Sigma males do feel deeply. They just refuse to turn their pain into a spectacle. They'd rather look unbothered than perform brokenness. And while that can be misunderstood as coldness, the truth is it takes a ridiculous amount of strength to suffer without needing an audience. People often think, he must not be going through anything, he's so calm. But calmness doesn't mean absence of pain. It means control over it. Sigma males inspire not because they're invincible, but because they're masters of restraint. They bleed behind the curtain and still show up with their head held high. That kind of resilience doesn't scream, it hums, steady, quiet, unshakable. There's something powerful about a man who can hold it together when everything's falling apart, and do it without asking the world to notice. That's not detachment, that's discipline, that's self-ownership. And in a world where everyone wants to be seen as strong, the Sigma male is strong because he never needed to prove it in the first place. Number 8. They have mastered the art of being unavailable without being rude. Sigma males have perfected the subtle art of disappearing from the social scene without leaving behind the trail of guilt or frustration that most people create when they do the same. They don't get tangled up in a million notifications or try to appease everyone with small talk. They don't need to be constantly present to be noticed. They know when to step into the spotlight and when to retreat into the shadows, and they do it with a level of finesse that makes their absence feel natural, not negligent. It's not that they don't care, it's the opposite, actually. Sigma males are extremely selective about where they pour their energy. They understand that not every conversation, every event, or every relationship requires their immediate attention, and they're unapologetic about that. They don't need to answer every text within 5 minutes or show up at every gathering to prove they're there for you. In fact, they know that their time and energy are finite, and that means they guard it with almost ruthless precision. But here's the magic. While most people would feel guilty for not responding to a message or bailing on a social plan, Sigma males never leave you feeling abandoned. Their absence doesn't feel like a rejection, it feels like a choice, and somehow that makes it okay. It's almost like they've cracked the code to being unavailable while still making people feel understood. They don't owe anyone an explanation for needing space, but when they do decide to engage, they show up fully. They're present, not distracted, and they make it count. The thing is, it's not about avoiding people, it's about maximizing the quality of their interactions by limiting the quantity. They don't spread themselves thin, they don't try to please everyone. And because of that, when they do connect with someone, it's intentional. They listen, they engage. They're fully there in a way most people can't manage with their scattered attention. It's the kind of magnetic, respectful presence that leaves people wanting more without being needy or demanding. And let's be honest, most of us wish we could pull off being unavailable with this much grace. It's not about ghosting. It's about mastering your boundaries, knowing your worth, and valuing your energy like the rare resource it is. Number 9, they've rejected the main character syndrome without losing the plot. Sigma males have completely checked out of the race for attention, and it's what makes them so magnetic. While others are busy playing the main character in their own stories, trying to curate every moment and gain validation from the audience, Sigma males have quietly dropped the script altogether. They're not out here fishing for admiration or crafting an image. They don't need the applause because they're too busy being authentic and true to themselves to worry about what anyone else thinks. It's this indifference to the spotlight that ironically makes them the most compelling figures in any room. The world is full of people striving for recognition, desperately positioning themselves as the star of the show. But the Sigma male doesn't play that game. He doesn't need to shout from the rooftops to be seen or heard. He walks in, does his thing, and somehow people notice. It's not because he's seeking attention, It's because his quiet confidence demands it without him ever having to say a word. What makes this even more powerful is that Sigma males don't suffer from the need for constant affirmation. They've rejected the main character syndrome because they understand that true strength and influence don't come from being the loudest or the most visible. It comes from being unwavering in who you are, being so comfortable in your own skin that you don't need to advertise your value. And when you're not desperately trying to take center stage, you become the one everyone's drawn to without even trying. It's like they're the person who shows up at a party and somehow, without even trying to be the center of attention, ends up holding the room's focus. Not by dominating the conversation or pushing their ego to the front, but simply by being so compelling in their authenticity that everyone else gravitates toward them. Sigma males don't need to play the main character because their story doesn't need to be told for validation. Their actions speak louder than any performance. And in a world where everyone is putting on a show, their ability to remain grounded, unaffected, and yet somehow magnetic is what steals the spotlight without ever stepping into it. Number 10. They don't need a tribe to feel significant. Sigma males aren't trying to be part of any group. They don't need to wear a team jersey to feel validated, and they certainly don't have FOMO when they're not included in the latest social trend or clique. While the world pushes the idea that you need a tribe to feel important, that you're somehow incomplete without a pack to back you up, Sigmas stand firm in their independence. They don't just accept being alone, they thrive in it. And the truth is that level of self-sufficiency is far more powerful than any collective can offer. It's not that Sigmas are antisocial or don't enjoy the occasional connection. They're selective, not isolated. They don't run with crowds, and that's by design. They're more than comfortable carving their own path, building their own empire of thoughts and actions without needing the constant reassurance or validation of a group. While others scramble to be accepted, Sigmas stand tall in their own value, knowing that their worth doesn't hinge on the approval of anyone else. They've mastered the art of belonging to themselves. In a world where people are constantly being told to find their people or surround themselves with their tribe, the Sigma male operates like an island, and he's okay with it. He's not detached or disinterested. He's dominant over the need for external validation. He doesn't need others to feel significant because he already knows who he is and what he stands for. He doesn't rely on the group to tell him he's worthy. He's built his identity from within, and it's rock solid. This is where the real power lies. While everyone else is looking to fit in or find their place, the Sigma male walks through life unbothered by the need to belong. He's not out here begging for acceptance or trying to prove his importance by joining a team. His strength comes from within, and it radiates outward. That's dominance over dependency. When you can stand alone without crumbling or questioning your worth, you've already won the game. Number 11, they're the kings of productive isolation. While the world often associates being alone with boredom, isolation, or a sense of emptiness, Sigma males see it as an opportunity for evolution. When most people are left to their own devices, they find themselves lost in the endless scroll of social media, consumed by distractions that only deepen their sense of disconnection. Sigma males, on the other hand, use solitude to sharpen their minds, hone their skills, and recalibrate their inner drive. They don't waste time filling the silence with meaningless noise. They use it to grow, refine, and strategize for the next move. It's in this solitary space that the Sigma male transforms into a powerhouse of productivity. There's no restlessness, no fear of being alone. Instead, he thrives in it. While others may look at solitude as an invitation to stagnate, Sigmas see it as the perfect environment to strengthen their resolve, deepen their knowledge, and sharpen their abilities. They're not just biding time, they're refining their craft, building their future, and becoming the person others will one day want to be. This contrast between the average person's loneliness and the Sigma male's purposeful isolation is a key part of what separates the dreamers from the doers. Where others complain about being alone or struggle with their thoughts, Sigmas have learned to embrace the quiet as a tool for transformation. Their solitude isn't something they fear. It's the breeding ground for their next breakthrough, their next success. They've mastered the art of productive isolation, knowing that it's in these moments of solitude that they become untouchable. Number 12, they build invisible empires. Sigma males don't operate in the loud, flashy world of public displays of success. They're not out there announcing their plans or chasing recognition for every little win. Instead, they focus on building quietly, stacking their victories in silence, layer by layer. Every move they make is calculated, deliberate, and often goes unnoticed by those around them. But that's exactly how they like it. While others are busy showing off, Sigmas are quietly constructing their invisible empire, an empire of skill, resources, influence, and power. By the time the world catches on, it's already too late. The Sigma male's empire has already taken shape, standing strong and unshakable. The groundwork was laid in the shadows, far from the spotlight, where they could work without the distractions or pressures of external validation. They don't need applause or accolades to know they're on the right track. The end result speaks for itself. When others finally realize what they've built, it's already a force to be reckoned with, and the Sigma male has long since moved on to his next challenge. The beauty of this approach lies in its quiet inevitability. Sigmas don't just hope for success, they plan for it in the most methodical way. They know that true power doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. Instead, it grows organically out of sight until one day it's undeniable. The empire was never meant to be public, it was always going to happen. It's this blend of silent perseverance and strategic thinking that makes Sigma males so extraordinary. They build legacies in the shadows, and by the time anyone realizes their influence, it's already unstoppable. In a world obsessed with connections, cliques, and the constant need for validation, the Sigma male quietly redefines strength, independence, and authenticity. He doesn't play by the rules society sets out for him, he creates his own. His power doesn't lie in the spotlight or the approval of others, but in his unshakable confidence, his quiet resolve, and his ability to move through life on his own terms. He's not trying to be the center of attention, he just is. He doesn't need a tribe to feel significant because he is his own force, unbreakable, unshakable, unapologetically real. What makes the Sigma male so captivating isn't just his silence or solitude, it's his ability to live fully, to be his own person without relying on anyone else to define him. He's the paradox we all wish we could become, disconnected from the noise, but somehow more connected to his own truth than anyone else. In a world that constantly tells us to seek approval, to find our place, the Sigma male stands as a living reminder that true strength comes from within. When you learn to lead yourself, you don't need anyone else to lead you. So while the world spins on, lost in the chase for attention and external validation, the Sigma male walks a different path, one that's quiet, yes, but powerful beyond measure. And maybe, just maybe, it's the path we should all start walking, because in the end, the Sigma male doesn't just exist, he commands respect without even trying. And that in itself is a lesson in mastery. If you enjoyed diving into the world of Sigma males and discovering what truly makes them stand apart, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you found these insights eye-opening, and share it with anyone who needs to see the quiet power of the Sigma mindset.